After I've groomed Winnie's body, I work on our Topknot. I use a triangle mark slicker brush by Chris Christensen, a 7-inch fine tail comb from Chris Christensen, and a 5-inch fine to coarse face comb also from Chris Christensen. I also use non-latex bands in 5/16 and 1/4 inch sizes for her actual knot, as well as a bow. This one is from Doggy Bow Ties, my favorite online dog bow provider. I start by taking out my bands so they're ready to go when I am going to be needing them, and then I don't have to reach while I'm in the middle of holding her hair after I've parted it. So I get out 2 1/4 inch bands and 1 5/16 inch band, and I put her grooming pillow around her neck. Then I take my Show Tech band scissors. As you can see here, they have a curved edge to grab the band, and very carefully, lifting the band away from her hair, I snip quickly and swiftly, removing the old band, and being very careful not to remove, or to cut, the band of the hair bow. Then I remove the other bands. There are 3 bands that I have to clip in total, and I dispose of those in our little bucket. Of course, as always, I put my scissors away right away to reduce risk of injury. Then I take my slicker brush and just very gently comb through Winnie's hair with it to remove any knots or fuzzy hair from the previous top knot. Taking the tail comb, I start to put in Winnie's part above her stop, or right at her stop rather. I kind of do this by looking where her eyes, the corner of her eyes are, and sort of drawing an imaginary line between them. I also have to work on getting her mustache, face hair kind of away from that area so I can get a clear view. And I comb back with the comb once I am satisfied with the part that I have gotten. Sometimes she needs situating to push her back on the mat, so I have plenty of room to work with. Then starting at the corner of her right eye, the outer corner, I come in about 1/3 of the way, and that's where I start my comb to start my part. I go up to about the halfway point on her forehead, and then I come back down the other side, combing through this several times to make sure I've gotten all the hairs and that everything's combed through. You can see it kind of makes a diamond shape. I know it's a little hard to see. I'm a little bit nitpicky, so I'll go back over several times just to make sure the part is straight. This isn't really necessary, it just makes a nicer finished product if it looks really straight. And I just like to comb through the hair several times to make sure I've got it all. There's no knots, no flyaways. Of course, she does have some flyaways naturally, but this is the way I do it to ensure I get the most hair. Then I take the face comb using the fine side and go through the hair once more. Since the hair has already been combed through with the slicker brush and the tail comb, it's all right to do this. I make any last minute adjustments to the part. You can see I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so again, you kind of work with your dog and you find out where the ideal place to have this first knot is. For me, it's about halfway up her forehead, if I'm counting her forehead as going all the way to the back of her head. So it's the halfway point there, and that's where I really want the tip of that part to be. Then taking one of my 1/4 inch bands, as you can see here, I kind of use my teeth to open it up and get it open in my fingers, and I put it through once and tighten it up towards the top of the part. Then I make sure it's exactly how I want it, and I go back through 2 additional times, looping 2 times, so it's a total of 3 loops around with the bow. I pull a bit at the corner of her eyes, the hair that's tied up, to make sure it's loose and not pulling on her eyelids, and then I start on the back section. This time I'm making more of a triangle shape because we're starting at the top of the very back of her head. There's a little bone back there you can kind of feel, and that kind of indicates the end of the skull, and that's where I start the point of the part back there. Again, I do the same things, gathering the hair, combing through it rather, with the face comb, and then taking the band, putting it over once, and then wrapping it an additional 2 times. Sometimes little flyaways get stuck in there. It's a great time to pull them out before it's too tight. Make any last minute adjustments, and you can see the 2 bands. Then I take my bow, and you can see the bands. There's 2 bands that are sewed to the bow. I put 2 fingers in, a thumb and my forefinger, and I slide it over the first top knot like that. And then I push it down close to the actual band holding her hair. Make sure the bands are lying as flat as possible and not tangled or, laying crooked. That ensures the bow sits up straight. I gather both knots of hair, take my 5/16 inch band, and wrap it around all of the hair. Again, the same method. I go over once, make sure everything's okay, and then wrap an additional 2 times. And that's basically it. There's not much to it. It sounds complicated, I know, and I've been doing this a long time now, but it gets easier with practice. Practice makes perfect. You might make a few adjustments here and there. You'll get it with time. Be patient. And there you go. Pretty cute, huh? Just wanted to show you what the finished product looks like. Very pretty, isn't it? And if she'll let me, I can kind of show you from the side. There's the lock-in technique. You can see the first bunch and the second bunch, and then, Winnie, honey, can you put your head over here so I can show? The bow band right there, and then the top that ties them all together. So the bow doesn't actually hold in the hair, it's just placed on the hair, like that. And it's so beautiful. Yes. Is it time for cookies?